Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is Hacking Self-Storage. So I'm going to talk about a question that I get asked quite a lot. And so I love these questions because it gives me content and I get to answer them. And it's something that I'm very, very passionate about as well. Right, so the question is, what should you be expecting in terms of move-ins when you first open? How do we know? What parameters are they? What criteria are they? How do we have this equation, this formula? And the simple answer is, we guesstimate. I guesstimate. But the more technical term is, my technical answer, I suppose, is it depends on the population. The answer to the question is, it completely depends. It depends on the population. It depends on the surrounding traffic. What is your 1 mile population? What is your 3 mile population? What is your surrounding competition like? How good and how fast could you get into the top 3 places on Google? How much are you going to spend on pay-per-clicks? These are all questions. These are all questions that need to be asked to give you an accurate assumption of how much square foot you should be making. But what I'm going to do here is give you some parameters or give you some examples of what I use. So firstly, you'll remember that I was looking up maybe a year ago now, I was looking at buying a building in Beverley, and we was going to do indoor self-storage. Beverley is a 30,000 population. It was on the main road because location matters as well. It was on the main road and it had unbelievable traffic. And so I was working out, because Beverley's only 30,000 population, I was working out that we would get 330 move-ins a week, net profit, net, we'd gain 330 square foot. That's what we'd gain at Beverley. Now, that one's a bit of a lopsided calculation. I don't want you to think, 30,000 population, then all we do is, divided by 100. Let's have a look, 30,000 divided by 100. Yeah, so 30, all we do is divide the population by 100, because that's not true, because we already had, we was already top of Google. We was already number 1 location, and we already had, people knew of us anyway in the area, because we've been open like 10 years, and all we was doing was moving from one location to the next. And so that's what we was doing there at Beverley. In Clough Road, where we was opening, let's have a look. I've got the spreadsheet all ready for you guys. See, I do prepare for these. Will you believe it? I do prepare, as I can't find the southern spreadsheet. Where the hell is this blooming spreadsheet? It's got to be somewhere. Give us a minute. Well, I know exactly what it was. Oh, top of my head. I hope I haven't lost it. Can you believe it? Just 1 second. I'll pause it and find it. I found it. Okay, I've got so many tabs open. I've got tabs with more tabs on more paper. I've got everywhere. Right, and now I've opened the wrong tab again. Brilliant. Here it is. Right, so I'll give you an example. For Clough Road, it's about 330 population, somewhere on there, and it's a prominent location. And I guesstimated that we'd do 531, and we've actually done, this is 531 net square foot a month, and we've actually done 8,500 roughly divided by 6. So we've done 1,416 at the minute, which is incredible. As it happens, that is exactly what Gavin Shields said we'd do. I always remember Gavin saying, well, the start, from judging by the start of your figures, I would anticipate this would be a 1,500 net square foot a month store. I was like, get away, no chance. Turns out he's right. You should have a podcast. And the reason why I guesstimate 531 is I knew it would be on the low side, but we had the data from what we did at Willoughby. And so we knew we had that data, but I never want to over-egg it. In anything, I want to underestimate what we do. And the reason I want to underestimate it is because then I know that whatever happens, we'll do better than we expect, because it's so critically important to make sure that we don't overestimate it and then be short of cash. Because if you saw, cash is the oxygen of your business. Without cash, you're dead, you die, you kaput, you're bust. And so we need to protect that cash as much as possible. And so we need to make sure that we under project rather than over project, because you don't want to be in that situation. I've been there before and I didn't enjoy it. You don't want to enjoy it either. So that's why I did 500 and what was it? 534 was it? I've got the sheet back up here. 531. So I did 531. Oh no, sorry, that's another site. I can't tell you where it is, but I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Sorry, at Clough Road, I did 584. That's what I projected at Clough Road. But like I say, it's a busy road, and you can easily anticipate 584, and you would be okay there because it's a busy road, it's a good location, it's a nice smart building, everything we've got good SEO as well. We've got spending a lot of money on pay-per-click, so I knew we'd definitely do over 584. But I was talking to someone at Big Yellow, and Big Yellow, to help you with some parameters as well, a good site, a very, very good site, hits £1,000 square foot per month. An average site, a below average site, just a mediocre site, hits 500 square foot. And so from Big Yellow's point of view, that's what they're anticipating, their growth. So 500 for a low-key mediocre site, and that could be an Armadillo, not necessarily a Big Yellow. Big Yellow's normally in prominent locations, Armadillo less so. Sorry, Armadillo, Big Yellow. I might not be true. I don't know. Well, I do. That's my take on things anyway. And a good site be netting 1,000 plus. And so it gives you some sort of parameters. So that's what I've always worked to, between a 500 and 1,000, depending on if it's good with location, if it's good with SEO, if you're spending money on pay-per-clicks, then you can top that around about 1,000 square foot. And if it's a mediocre site, then you'd always be hoping for at least 500, but 500 for a mediocre site sounds about right. I'll give you another example. So let's say, for round numbers, there's a site that I'm looking at with a population of 100,000. It's got 1.5 indoor self-storages. One of them's terrible, and the half isn't very good either. And I've anticipated here 531 square foot, and it's in a prominent location. And I can say here on projections, even at 500 square foot, 531 square foot. And by the way, I know I'm flickering all over the place. I'm trying my very best. It's just, I'm just going here, there, and everywhere. So hopefully you're following me. But I'm trying to give you my numbers the best I possibly can do. So here I'm anticipating 531. Even with 531 square foot, I'm going to get a return that's per month for the first 4 years. I'm going to get a return of 31.2%. Now, if I say that it's going to do 1,063, which, in all honesty, I think it should hit that. But I don't want to plan for that, because I don't want my cash flows to say that we're going to do that. If we hit 1,063, we'll be full in 24 months. So you can guesstimate what size the building is. And we would have a return of 37%, and that is based on £16 per square foot. If it goes up to £20 per square foot, this is how it gets crazy. And every one of my sites should be £20 per square foot, but I'm basing it worst case scenario, because in the fill-up rate, we should be easily getting £16 per square foot as well. If we do that, so if we hit £20 per square foot, which we should do, and we do 1,000 square foot per month, then the return on investment, my friends, on this one becomes 62.5% return on investment, cash on cash. Incredible. But this is why I'm doing the worst case scenario. So I'm going £16 per square foot. And by the way, this is a Stora spreadsheet, by the way. It's open and available for everybody. Just go to Stora.co, I think it is. Anyway, just Google Stora, you'll find it. And then if I go to, instead of 24 months fill up, if I go to 48 months fill up, 531 net square foot per month, I still have a cash on cash return of 31.2%. But we know that's the worst case. The best case, not even best case. The doable, what's doable, should be comfortable doable, because we're doing it at Clough Road. So comfortable doable, it's over a 60% return. But again, what I'm trying to get across here is that we need to do our projections on the soft side, because I can't get through to this enough to people that it was horrendous for me having a negative cash flow and not having planned for the negative cash flow. You've got to go into this with your eyes wide open. And I didn't. I don't want you to make the same mistakes I do. We've got to learn from the mistake of others. It's no fun learning from your own mistakes, I can promise you. And so if you don't have your numbers correct, if you over egg it, then you can leave yourself in a world of pain. It's all right looking at numbers and thinking, like I look at the numbers and think, oh yeah, 60% return. But I'm not planning on that. I'm not even now I'm thinking, oh yeah, well, I don't need to borrow that much money, because look, I only need to, if I get them returns, I only need to borrow this much. But I'm like, no. Dean, draw yourself back. We need to borrow 800 grand on this one, because we've got to plan for the worst case. That's what I'm trying to get at. Right. Let's have a look. Is there anything else I can tell you on this one? Not really. So you want to be planning between 500 or 1,000. 1,000 top end. You don't really want to go over 1,000, because if you're going over 1,000, you're saying that you're a very, very good site. And it's all right doing that in the first 12 months, but will you continue to do that in the second 12 months when you have churn? It's going to be very, very tough. It's going to be very, very tough for a site to do that unless it's a bloody star location with a beautiful, maybe the Shaw stores and stuff like that can do that, can project for that. But I don't want to project anything more than 1,000 square foot. I get uneasy even projecting 700 square foot. And so I want to project on the low side. I always project around about 500, 600 square foot, because I know we can do that in our sleep. And so that's worst case. So I plan that for that. And so if you're looking at planning the site, then it's 500 to 1,000. 500 mediocre, 1,000 is excellent. I want to give you an example as well from somebody else. I won't mention any names because I haven't got permission to, and I always want to make sure that I'm very, very courteous of people will never ever tell me anything if I just go and spit it out in the podcast. So here we go. 65 containers times by 160. So in 4 months, 4.5 months, somebody, let's say 5 months for argument's sake, filled up 10,400. That is phenomenal. Divided by 5. This person, a container site, filled up 2,080 square foot per month for the first 5 months. I don't know what's happened after that. I only know what's happened in the first 4.5 months. That is incredible. That gives me goose pimples. That is beautiful. That is amazing. Will that continue at that rate? No, it can't possibly continue at that rate. Well, no, that's unfair. It's unlikely to continue at that rate. And obviously they're going to run out of containers, cash flow and everything. So that's gives you an example of what somebody is doing. So it is achievable to go for the higher figures, but I would never plan for that. So hopefully this is give you the answer to the question is, what should you be expecting in terms of move-ins when you very first open? And I've put a note here. The data wasn't out there when we first opened, and I would have killed for a podcast like this. I can only give you my experience and the people I've spoken to. So I put i.e. Big Yellow, i.e. container site, and then it says go through your experience of your sites. But to answer your question, is there any formula? No, there's no hard set formula. You'd have to, for me to have an accurate idea at somebody's site, I'd have to go down, I'd have to have a look at the location, I'd have to have a look at the competition. I'd have to have a look at the competition, how full they are, because if full, obviously that helps you because they'll bounce off them and come to you. You'd also have to have a look at the SEO. You'd also have to know what they're prepared to pay on pay-per-clicks. You'd also have to know the search volume. Search volume, i.e. how many people search for wholesale storage, for example. And you'd also need to know what the sales process is. There's loads of stuff that you need to know. So there's no hard, fast answer because it's impossible, because there's so many moving parts in this that give you the overall answer. But hopefully I've given you the outline of what is important. What else I'm going to say? There's something else important. I don't know. I can't remember. I had something else on the tip of my tongue. Can't be that important. But you get the picture. There's a lot of criteria that we need to look at before we have the answers to that question. But in a very brief explanation, it's between 500 and 1,000. That's what you can expect. To answer the question, after all this like 20 minutes talking, it's between 500 and 1,000. Simple as that. All right, guys, girls, love doing these podcasts. Thank you very much for listening. I love the messages, and I do apologize if I haven't got back to you. I've read every single message that people sent me, and it is amazing. You guys absolutely rock. I feel like we've got such an awesome community. The Store Nation, it is wonderful. Self-storage is wonderful. And if you're not in, then you'll be kicking yourself for not getting in 5 years' time. The best time was 5-10 years ago. The second best time is now. All right, my friends. I want to say now, just obviously, I want to preset that pre-warning you. Obviously, the economic climate, nobody knows what's going to happen. I was talking to somebody else in business yesterday, and they was telling me that they're worried about what's going to happen when people start turning the heating on in the winter, because at the minute it's not really affecting anybody because nobody's having the heating on because we don't need it. But in the summer, in the winter, what's going to happen? People are going to be more skint, and so people are going to be pulling back from spending money. Is that going to affect self-storage? Traditionally, it hasn't had as much impact as other industries. But will it do this year? Because it's different. There's a whole host of different parts and things in the pot, like the war and stuff. Supply chain, who knows? I don't know. So just go careful if you are opening self-storage. I do think that self-storage is wonderful, but I just also want to caveat that by saying this is crazy times. We don't know. Is COVID coming back? Is there going to be any more lockdowns? We were looking at a vaccination centre. I got friendly with the nurse there, and they said to me that she's been told to expect an influx of COVID cases, and it's coming back as strong as ever in the winter. Don't know how they know that, but that's what she's been told to expect. So I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, Jesus Christ! I thought it was over that. Then the war, then COVID's back again. Then was it monkeypox or what? I don't frigging know. So yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty in the world, and so yeah, I don't want to tell people to open the self-storage, but I just love the industry. I think it's fantastic. I think it's a great industry. Normally, it's been very, very robust in hard times. Let's hope it continues to as well at the minute. Right, guys, girls, love you. I appreciate you. I'm out of here. Bye.